The Booth Radio.
It's DJ MH Tutters, The Booth Radio on Urban Grind TV. Decima's still in the building. How are you, lady?
I am amazing. I'm still here chilling with you and our special guest.
So let me give you guys the history of Marv J, right? So the first time I was introduced to Marv J was at Velvet Lounge. We did the Break of the Yankee Live showcase where we had artists performing like CEO Trigger, Quo, K Valentine, of course, Ray Illa. We had a few artists perform, right? And Kate introduced me to Marv J. She like, check him out, he real dope. And you know, me and Marv stayed in tune over time. He dropped a project called Lucy. Checked out the project, real dope project. And recently, I've been running into him like always at the show, and it's just always been love and gratitude. So we did the Break of the Yankee Live at Refuge, and he came through, and he came and performed. I was surprised. I didn't think he was gonna come perform and do nothing like that. I was just thinking he was coming to chill. He like, nah, I came to tear this thing down. So he signed up and he tore it down like always. So we've been playing this record in rotation. Then we came up here, and I just decided that we gonna do Break It and Yank It and put it with the panel. And the panel, before, like when everybody was done, you got a unanimous break it. Everybody wanted the joint and was repeating the hook to Waffle House. So ladies and gentlemen, Marv J is in the building. Can everybody in the studio please make some noise for Marv J, please?
Yeah.
How are you, sir?
Oh man, I'm great. God is good. How y'all been?
Man, can't complain at all, man.
Oh man, I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
So where we gonna start this Marv J story at, man?
Man, wherever you want to start at. It's a lot of it. It's still going.
Definitely that.
I like the grammar. I cannot get over that. The grammar school, how it started. Mostly because, you know, I work at a school as a preschool teacher assistant, and I think it's pretty cool that, you know, that's where the spark just came out.
Yeah, it seems cliche, but when I was in 7th grade, my English teacher was also a rapper, and he recited the original piece, and I still remember it. The hook was, boom, boom, the wait is over. Big B's jumping in your Rover. Shake it up, shake it down. Some coming to your town. And it was just like, I mean, he was a cool guy, and I could tell he was like real literal in the literature, him being an English teacher, but he was black, he was kind of younger, he was in the hip hop, you know what I'm saying? So he had that lyrical persona and that kind of the presence of that culture that related to me in 7th grade, me being somebody that was coming from Chicago, listening to, you know, Twister, Psychodrama, Do or Die, Speed Out Mobsters, everybody from the city, but also brought up on like a lot of East Coast, because that's where the hip hop was. I watched a lot of movies and a lot of soundtracks and a lot of scores, and it's a lot of music that, you know, centers from New York, you know what I mean? So yeah, 7th grade, and from there it was just writing, you know what I mean, from listening to music off the radio or off the tapes and rewinding it. Again, this is before Google, this is before lyric.com off your phone.
Off the tapes.
You got, when you rewind it, you know
Pencil
what I mean?
and your notebook in hand.
And you try to get every word, and you compare with your friends, like, nah, he said this, nah, he said that. And you really don't know, because it's not like they be like, you know, there's a disclaimer somewhere. Yeah. But just getting into that, being a student of the craft and getting into that writing, the formats and stanzas of verses, the way they was rhyming, seeing it on the paper, you know what I mean? It's like reading the script to a movie, or, you know, just having a different perspective of that piece of art, you know what I mean? And, you know, like, and there were two things, like I would write, you know what I mean? And then I could freestyle, but I could never spit what I wrote or remember what I freestyled. So it's always like a duality. Yeah, you know, but again, being a student of the craft and practicing and going, like, man, I think it was like 10 years before I recorded my first anything. And this is like, man, again, this is when we were still doing karaoke, you know, the karaoke machine, got the tape player in the joint with the CD at the top. We would do that and recorded the tapes where you would put the tissue or the piece of paper in the back of the tape to record it.
Over the original.
Hey, it was crazy, but from there it's just a progress and a progression and just steady staying at it. And like I was telling Decima.
Yes.
I was telling her I've been serious about it for like the past 4 years, and I define serious as being when I start putting my money into it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, where it's like that's that serious, where it's not so much as you want to call it a risk, but it's that's that much you have invested physically and any other way. You know what I mean? But
definitely.
Yeah.
So, you remember some of your first raps?
I remember. Again, this is around that 7th, 8th grade era. I remember one of Missy Elliott Timbaland joints. I became a big Timbaland fan, and I think it was one of their songs that I would rap all the time. Like in my head, I would know like 8 bars of it. And one of my friends, he heard it and he thought it was me, and I didn't necessarily tell him it wasn't. Because it was an obvious song. I was like, man, one, you ain't heard this? Yeah. I mean, what do you? But the way I would rap it, it would be like it was from memory. It was like my own, and it was that's the most the closest thing I had to it. You know what I'm saying? Because again, I was writing, but I couldn't recite it, and this is before I was freestyling when I had the balls big enough to do it in front of public. You know what I mean? But I remember that. I don't remember. I used to write a lot. I write a lot. Like I got ADD, so I never stick to something. That's why it took a while for me to be able to perform, remembering my lines. You know what I mean? Because I would write so much, it got to a point where it's not that I didn't put value in my pieces. It was just like I didn't want my last piece to be my greatest piece. Gotcha. You know what I'm saying? And because one, I wasn't like recording, so none of these were getting heard, and two, it was just like I wanted it to be real within me, where I can do this every time. Like I could write I could think it's the coldest thing and be like, I write another one. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's what it was. So I had a problem remembering a lot of rhymes. So again, when I got serious, started putting money into it and started performing, that's when I started getting better at, because the way I do it, you have to associate it with it. Like, man, the best way I memorize things is by, like, I'll write it and I'll keep going over it till I record it. And then while I record it, I probably lay it down like 1 or 2 takes. You know what I'm saying? And it's the mixing process, because it just plays back and forth, and you keep hearing it, and you're there. That's why I like to be there during the mixing process, because it's embedded in my head. Then after that, I'm listening to it. Right. I'm in all speakers, on the CD player, with my friend Kai, in the club, wherever I can, just to get that balance of where I want it sonically. Right. You know what I mean? And by the grace of God, because it was like, man, it was hard. I couldn't remember nothing. And because I had got so used to just writing and writing and writing, that it was like I never held on to any other words. So doing all that and having that process as an artist, being there on all sides, you know what I'm saying, got me into the mode of memorizing things. Now it's gotten to the point where it's like the new joint, I got the hit him in the head, you know what I mean? Doing that step process, writing it, going over it, going to the studio, recording it. By the time it's recorded these days, I can go perform it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I've been through that process and it's stuck in my head, and I put more value into it. And I'm not writing as much with just a frivolous stroke. Just to be right, yeah. You know what I mean? It's more, I know I can get it heard now.
How was that moment when you first stepped into the booth to record? Were you nervous? Were you anxious? Like, what was that like?
When I first got into the booth, it was, you remember Forest City? They used to have like this thing in the basement. You pay like $20, you can record and whatnot. So I went there, right? And this is when, it's like, again, it was like, all right, I want to start recording. I've been writing, I've been freestyling, this and that. Let's put a track together. So me and my little cousin, LP, we went in there. And this is a song I practiced. I wrote it, went over it. But I went in there and I spit it, and it just wasn't on beat. It didn't sound out loud how it sounded in my head. You know what I'm saying? And I couldn't get it, because it was like you ever seen like in the movies where like they got this, like you know what I'm saying, they perform it and they think they did it one way, and then they rewind and show you how it actually happened. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They be like, oh damn, that's not where it went. You know what I mean? But that was my first experience with being in the booth. Now I had recorded like on tapes and everything, but like being in the booth and knowing the sound and knowing where I wanted was completely different. But I listened to it and I loved it still, because it was still my own thing. But I think my first real is when I was doing recording FLPM, my first mixtape. You know what I mean? Because prior to that, I had a mixtape I did called Starvation, but I did it on a laptop in my basement. It was just, cheaply done, like a step right above karaoke recording.
Gotcha.
So when I was doing FLPM, that was my, I go in, I got my mind right, made smoke signals. It wasn't no rush. It was songs I had went over. I can go back as many takes, and that was like my truest breaking into the art of just into that part of the creating the music. You know what I mean? Man, and that wasn't even too long ago. Like I said, sometimes I'd be like, man, time is escaping and I got this and it's a small window and whatnot. But then I realized, like, whether I've been putting money into it or really recording, I haven't been doing it that long. You know what I'm saying? Things are actually right on path. I just started late. You know what I mean? Like if I took it serious earlier, then it'd be earlier. You know what I mean? But being as high things went out, I'm on time. But I just got to keep reminding myself of that.
So you dropped a project called Lucy.
Mm-hmm.
Lucy was like your first official body of work that you put on all streaming and the sales for sale, right?
Yeah, this is true.
What was tell the people about Lucy, man? Like, what's your favorite track off of it, first of all?
Favorite track. I run in my mind this scenario every time. Like, what's your favorite track?
But it just never comes out the way that you
play it out
think.
completely. It's just that question. I get as far as the question. I never answer it. I love Waffle House, man. That's my favorite track, man.
Yeah,
it's up tempo. It's like bars. That was my thinking, like, in terms of branding and like what would be a single. And single just being, what would you lead? What would they hear first? What would be their first impression of Marv J?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And we're thinking of a body of work, so it has to also be relatable to the rest of the project. You know what I mean? You can't have that one song and the rest of the joint's like, well, damn, this is kind of drawing me in on a wrong, false advertisement. You know what I mean? So, but thinking of all that, thinking of like a managerial position, an artist position, I went with that. But it was also like the beat was so nice and just bouncy and drawn that it gave me that space to put some good bars down, make it a good song. You know what I mean? Catchy little hook, you know what I mean? And still show a little bit of my lyrical talent, still incorporate a little bit of the theme for the rest of the project, but also be like, if that was the only thing they heard. You know what I mean?
Word.
As well with that, that if they could only leave with that, if they could only leave with one song, you know what I mean, it would be the Waffle House.
Dope. So, who, like, production-wise, who did you work with on the project?
I believe all of them are NY Bangers, a couple producers that I met online. They do a lot of joints for, I think they had a Young M.A. joint, the Ooh, or one of them joints, but they do a lot of dope joints, and the thing I like about them is they have so much variety, you know what I mean?
Word.
And it's probably because it's a group of them, more than one of them, but you just don't get that same, because I have producers and I have other guys that, I get the music from and do this, but these songs just stuck out to me. Again, like I said, I done it in like 30 days, so it was kind of quick turn of what I wanted to do. These are all fresh songs, all something new. I didn't want to do nothing old, nothing that was mixed with one idea or the other. I just wanted to make this one theme, one thought all together and get it out. That's another reason why it's short. But not short, but just like that 10-track, quick 40-minute.
Yeah.
And you said it took you 30 days. Was that like constant work of a 30-day?
Yeah, between writing it and recording it and getting it mixed, it took about a month, and that wasn't like something sought out. It was just that was my main focus every week. Every week I was recording, mixing, and writing. And just luckily having that funding and that management support, and my engineer Headache from Classic Studios.
Shout out to Headache. Headache? I should have known that, man. That's my guy.
That's who did it. It said down at the bottom.
Yes,
Mixed
sir.
at Classic Studios by Headache.
Shout out to the homie Headache, man.
He in town now.
Yes, sir.
I get up with him Friday.
Oh, man, yeah, that's going to be dope. I already know.
Yeah.
So, all right, we got the Lucy project. Marv, what's some of your influence? Because I know you from the south side of the city, but you kind of got an East Coast feel. So what's some of your influence?
Man, like I said, yeah, definitely East Coast, man. I like a lot of literature. You know, I read a lot of comic books, so words stand out to me. So people who can use words, so-called wordsmith. That's why I got into that realm of like hip hop. It's like that. It's what you can't say sometimes to somebody you can put on paper or you can put on a record. You know what I mean? That's why a lot of sometimes people get disappointed in the people they meet in person because they're supposedly so different from the person that they were as an artist that they heard from these speakers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's that freedom that they have to be who they really are. You know what I'm saying? And you can't always be that because each song is a thought, and each thought, you know, shouldn't really linger that long. So you should take it for what it is in the moment. But my inspiration, man, all the greats, excuse me, Nas, Jay, Biggie. I'm a huge M-Fam. When it comes to like best rapper to me, when it comes to when you know in the sport of rhyming with lyrical content and incorporating the dirty dozen of it, the competition, the competitiveness, the tearing down of your opponent, you know, having an opponent, not being all bubblegum, not making a record, not caring about a label or media or the industry, just like, man, my lyrical content, like a fighter lyrically, and that's M. You know what I mean? That would be at the top for me. But of course, you know, records from Jay, Biggie would be right under M for me. You know what I mean? That kind of lane. But also, I'm also a J. Cole fan. I'm a huge Chicago fan. You know, I like a lot of old school Chicago. I like the old Kanye. You know
The old Kanye.
Nah. But yeah, just mainly. I like music is my inspiration. Hip hop, lyrical content. You know what I mean? I do dance. I don't do dance music, but you know I understand the art in all perspectives of it. You know, from era to era, generation, and the separation of everybody stand at it. You know what I mean?
Word.
But my thing is what you're saying and how you say it. To me, delivery is everything. You could be talking about the most simplest thing, but if you can creatively deliver it, I'm impressed.
Got you.
Oh,
so
awesome.
we got a mutual interest in a young lady who just released her debut album called Here for a Reason. Salute to K Valentine.
K Valentine, yes.
You've always been a strong supporter of her as well as myself. Like, what's your relationship and what makes you, because you don't see a lot of artists stand by other artists, so what makes you support her the way you do?
That's family. Her and her sister, who's also her manager, is a very strong support system in my life and in my music. I've known them for a while, and it's just that, just like you said, that support. You know what I mean? Kind of that karma without having individual intention or hidden agenda.
Absolutely.
As far as putting something out to get something back. It's just that, you know, I mean, doing good, do unto others as you have them do to you. Me being an artist, like I seen her from her first mixtape, Breakfast at Tiffany's. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to that. That's still available, SoundCloud, whatever. You know what I mean? But I've seen that that growth where she went before Talib, before Here for a Reason, before, you know, $1 Million Baby, the other mixtape. You know what I mean? And I related to that. You know, I related to what it's like seeing someone become that superhero. Yeah, you know what I mean? And just knowing them and having that common interest. You know what I mean? Because like it could have been anybody in the sense that, you know, if it was music, then it would have been that relation we had. But it being a couple steps further than that, being family and knowing a person aside from what you hear in their music, you know, a bond is created. You know what I'm saying? You get a little closer and in depth to what they're saying. You know when you know what they're talking about, and it's more relatable. But yeah, Kay is doing great. You know what I'm saying? She's family. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Salute to her and congratulations and continue blessings to her, man, because she deserves everything she doing and she getting, man. So what's next for Marv J, man?
Man, I just want to spread germs. You know what I'm saying? Pun intended. You know, exposure. I just want to get to a bigger fan base, get people this music, make better music, and just make the stamp more permanent in the game. You know what I'm saying? Make this lucrative, make it professional, make it a career.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So any and everything to push myself forward in that direction is, you know, on the list.
We getting another project soon?
Yeah, I'm working on music definitely. I got things in the cooking. Like I said, I'm doing Hit 'Em in the Head right now. I'm performing that. I might release that soon. Yeah. But yeah, the summertime, I got shows coming up and things coming together. I'm definitely gonna have a mixtape and another EP before the year is out.
Oh, okay.
Look at you.
This window, you know.
No, if you could do this one in 30 days, I mean.
I know, right? In theory, but we're not gonna rush it.
You're just magical. Well, tell our listeners where they can find you on social media.
Man, you could the easiest thing is Google Marv J, MARVJ. All my social handles are Spread Germs, SPREADJERMZ. Yeah.
Pause, but I gotta ask you this: what kind of germs you trying to spread, Marv?
Well, again, like I said, I come from the hip hop era where you had the aliases and the alter ego. So my nickname is MJ. You know what I mean?
Right.
Marvin John. The J, but you know my rap persona with the graffiti and tagging used to be Massive Germs. This is when names was crazy.
Sounds crazy.
This is the Wu-Tang era. It was like Professor, Inspector, you know, Massive Germs, but it was the initials, Massive Germs. So of course I dropped the Massive, and I used to spell it crazy, MASCIVE, like, you know, because it would look crazy when you tag it.
Right.
But Germs, I kept Germs, the moniker Germs, and just being like when I go back to M and being lyrical and rapping, you know, it's like my rhymes is like germs, I spread them, you know what I mean? So
okay,
that's where it come from.
DJ MH to the Decima, the homie Marv J. When we come back, it's breaking the Yankee time, baby. Yeah. Last week we was 3 for 3. See if we can pull it off again.
Yo, it's Marv J, straight from the south side of Chicago, and you are now listening to the Booth Radio.